What if I told you you could make elegant, layered Mother's Day cards in minutes without complicated techniques or a ton of supplies? Today I'm using just a few sheets of pattern paper, some vellum, and a bit of ephemera to create cards that look beautifully detailed but are actually incredibly easy to put together. And one of these is extra special. It doubles as a bookmark, making it perfect for any book lover. So if you want quick cards that still feel thoughtful and elevated, you're going to love these ideas. Let's dive in. So today I'll create two really quick but elegant Mother's Day cards using very minimal supplies. And they're going to turn out beautiful because I'm using a really gorgeous pattern paper pack. I've pulled out two sheets from the pack, and maybe I can give you a quick look at the patterns. They are single-sided and have two of each design. So I've just picked two sheets to work with today. These are the two I've chosen along with some lightweight vellum for layering. I also have the coordinating cardstock pack for this pattern paper collection. These are double-sided cardstock sheets, and I'll be using this one for the cards. I want to create this as a shaped card, so I'm using the Spellbinder's Perfect Touch arches and tag dies. I'll create a shaped card with these, and I'll show you exactly how that's really the game changer for this design. I'll also be using some ephemera. I love picking up coordinating ephemera packs because they make decorating so easy. No die cutting required, and everything comes together really quickly. I'm not sure which pieces I'll use yet, so I'll decide as I go. Let's start by cutting everything down. This card is going to use the largest arch die for the card base, and I'll use this as the background layer on the card front. For the card base, I'm using regular white cardstock. Let me measure the arch quickly. It comes out to about 5 3/4 by 4.5 inches. So let me cut out the panel first. This is going to be a top fold card, so I'll need a panel that's actually longer than my small guillotine will allow. If you're using a smaller scoring board and paper trimmer, scoring first and then cutting the panel after works really well. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm scoring at 5.5 inches, rotating and scoring again to get the bottom part, and I'll butt the panel into the corner of the scoring board and fold the panel over so I get a nice even fold. Now I'll cut this down to 4 3/4 inches and trim it down later if needed, and I can save the leftover piece for another project. Now let me show you how to create the shaped card. If I place the die directly over the folded cardstock and run it through, it would cut through both layers. That's why I'll position the die a little off the edge. You'll see there's a small gap at the top edge here. That overhang means the die won't cut through the top portion, which will give us the perfect fold. I'll secure the die with some low tack painter's tape and run it through my die cutting machine. And now you can see I have a perfectly shaped card that's still attached at the top. Next, I need to cut out my layers from the solid cardstock, pattern paper, and vellum. So I'll do that off camera to save time, and I'll be right back. All right, I've gone ahead and cut everything I'll need. So let me show you what I have. I used the largest die for the base layer, then worked my way down through the nesting sizes to create the layers. So this is the first layer, then the neutral pattern next, and then the pretty floral paper is the next one. I also cut a layer from lightweight vellum using the same size die. I want the pattern to show through, but the vellum softens it slightly so the sentiment can stand out. This card is really all about layering. I could skip the vellum, but I do prefer it because it diffuses the pattern just enough and helps the greeting pop. I have this heat emboss sentiment for the card front, and finally I'll add some ribbon and gems at the end to finish this design. This card is for my aunt, so I've created a custom sentiment for her. If you're interested in how I make custom sentiments, I'll link that video in the description. For this one, I'll apply the sentiment to lightweight cardstock, but it went on a bit crooked. Let's see if I can salvage it. Otherwise, I'll have to reprint it. All right, narrow escape. That worked. By the way, this is nonstick paper. The label was stuck on, and I always save these larger sheets. They're great for gluing and other hacks. I have a video I'll link in the video description because there are so many uses for nonstick paper that you can watch there. I have a bunch of these leftover scraps from cutting the layers, so I'll use them to decorate the envelope. Now I'll bring in my crafting BFF, which is my magnetic glass mat, to start assembling. I'll begin with the base layer using the scrapbook.com, which is a bit thick, so it gives me some time to slide things into place, which is really helpful. The next layer will go down flat. I'll add a bit of dimension to this layer with some foam tape. Nesting dies make it so easy. No measuring, everything lines up perfectly. And if there's something you want to get a lot of mileage from in your craft room, it has to be nesting dies. I'll add a bit of glue on the foam tape so it doesn't get stuck down before I'm ready. For the vellum layer, I cannot apply glue all over it because it will show through. So here's a little vellum hack. I'll place my focal element, the tag, on top first, and then apply glue behind where the tag will sit. That way, the adhesive is completely hidden. And if you're enjoying this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you'd like to craft along with me and join exclusive Q&A sessions, I'd love for you to join the channel. There's a button below for that. Now I'll add some foam squares behind the sentiment and place it at a slight angle. I also have this ribbon. It's the perfect color. I think I got it from Michael's years ago. The vellum is lifting slightly, so I'll add tiny dots of glue with my finger to the paper instead of the vellum and secure it. The glue is completely invisible. Now I'll put the tag on foam tape and adhere it to the base. Time for the ephemera. I'll trim down the flowers and stems a bit so they fit better. And I don't mind if some pieces extend beyond the edge because I can always use a slightly larger envelope. But I don't want to trim the beautiful ephemera. This is where ephemera really shines. Barring my indecision on which pieces and how much ephemera to use, it makes everything come together very quickly, and these are perfect for last-minute cards. If you're looking for the list of supplies, you'll find affiliate links in my blog post, which I've linked in the video description. While they won't cost you anything extra, it will definitely help out my channel. Thank you so much if you decide to support me. And if you're looking for the card measurements and an offline list of supplies For when you want to recreate these cards, you'll find the link to download the PDF in the video description as well. I think I'll add a butterfly, and I'll use small pieces of foam tape behind the wings so they don't lie flat. And that's it. I'll finish this off with a few gems from Spellbinders for some sparkle. I also found this beautiful linen textured envelope in my stash. It's a 5x7 envelope and the card fits perfectly. I added a strip of the pattern paper to the front to create a coordinated look. That's the first card done. The only real work was cutting the layers and creating the sentiment. Everything else came together quickly thanks to the nesting dies and ephemera. Let's move on to the next card. For this one, I'm making a fun bookmark card using these two pattern papers. I'm using the leftover part of the last cardstock, but I'll use the reverse side this time, and I'll cut it down to 5.5 by 11 inches. Next, I'll have to score the panel to create the base. This time, I want to keep the lighter pink on the outside. Since I'm feeling lazy, I'll ditch my scoring board and just continue using the trimmer. I'll use the track and wire guide and score along the long side at 4.25, then rotate the panel and score at 2.5 on the other end. Now I'll fold everything up, making sure the smaller fold faces out. I do see the edges slightly frayed from using the trimmer, so I'll clean those up with my guillotine. I'll just trim a hair off the frayed edges and it should give me the perfectly clean look. I'll cut a piece of this pattern paper slightly smaller than A2 at 4 by 5.25 inches so I can have a narrow border. I'll be cutting the top flap at an angle to create the bookmark holder and add a layering panel to it as well, since I'll need to do a lot of unnecessary mental math that I'm incapable of doing. So instead of measuring everything precisely for the angular cut, I'll first glue things down and then trim as needed. Let me glue down the panel first to make life easier. I want to ensure the corners are adhered well, so I'll slide some glue underneath. Now I need to add the panel on the flap. I think I'll reserve this pretty piece for the bookmark itself and add some ephemera to it. Let's see where I go with that. But let me first cut the panel from this sheet instead. Again, to make things easy, I'll use a pencil to mark where I need to cut. Basically, it ends up being a panel measuring 5.25 by 2.25 inches. I really like how this glue allows me to slide pieces into place, especially for aligning panels. Now for the next step, I'll be making a diagonal cut here to form the pocket. I want to save the flower, so I'll start the cut from just above it. I'll draw a line first, then trim along it on the guillotine to make life easy for myself. Since I'd adhered the pattern paper already, there's no border along the top edge, but it doesn't matter because I'll disguise it with a die cut. Necessity is the mother of invention, as they say, but I like to spin it as laziness is the mother of invention. Now I'll add glue to two of the edges of the flap and stick it down. My magnets are really great for holding down glued pieces so they have time to adhere. Let me find a nice floral die cut to add to the top edge. Voila, we have the pocket. Time for the bookmark. This will be the base and I'll layer the pretty floral panel on top. I'll cut the floral panel down to 5 by 1 3/4 inches so it layers nicely on the base and also fits in the flap. The base layer will be 5 1/4 by 2 inches to allow for a narrow border. I'll glue the panels together and see if the books and teacup die cuts look nice on the bookmark. Maybe not. I'll use those elements on the inside of the card instead. Next step is to punch a hole and then add ribbon. The bookmark slides in nicely and the top edges of the card and bookmark are perfectly aligned, which makes my perfectionist brain very happy. Next, I'll add a few small flowers to the bottom left corner to balance out the design. This will give me the perfect balance along the top and bottom thirds of the card. And in case you're curious, I have a video showing how to use the rule of thirds, and you'll find the link to that video in the description box below. I won't be adding a sentiment to the front of this card because it already has a lot going on visually. I prepared an inside panel measuring 4 by 5 1/4 inches with the greeting stamped, so I'll go ahead and adhere it and then decorate the inside with the ephemera. Now I'll add some sparkle to the card front. I'm using this new Gina K matte glue again for the embellishments. These sequins are from Salmon Says Stamp and I love the iridescence. Just a few small ones for a subtle sparkle. I'll use the leftover strips of pattern paper again to decorate the envelope front. And that's the second card and envelope done. The ribbon was too opinionated and didn't want to be hidden away forever, but this time around it was either my way or the highway, so it had to be trimmed into submission. So here are the two finished cards, this one with the custom sentiment and this one with the bookmark feature, both with coordinating envelopes. I recently made a video on 9 card making hacks that will save you hours of time and loads of frustration, and you can watch that video here.